It is my pleasure on this Wednesday to be joined by the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Doug Pederson. Doug, where are you right now? Is this the Doug Pederson man cave we're looking at here?
It's well, first of all, Dave, thanks for having me on your show, and look forward to talking to you for the next few minutes. But I'm at home. This is an upstairs bedroom. Our oldest son Drew is not here. He's back in Cincinnati and doing his online courses there at the university. And so I've taken over his room and made this into my own office, because our actual office at the house, our high school student Joel is using that to finish some of his schooling right now. So we're kind of all over the place a little bit.
Doug, how are you holding up? How's the family holding up? Everybody, first of all, being safe and healthy, and everything's good on the Pederson end?
Yeah, everything is really good. Obviously we're in uncertain times right now, some unprecedented times, but we're doing really good. We're obviously practicing social distancing. We're limiting ourselves from going to the grocery store just a few times a week, and really just sort of hunkering down and getting a lot of work done, obviously here at the house, and spending a lot of family time. So it's been good.
Doug, how has it impacted the professional side of things here? Take us inside of your day. What are you able to do with this lack of proximity to your personnel department and to your scouting staff and to your coaching staff as well?
Well, obviously the thing that we've really learned is the virtual, being able to do this, to have sort of FaceTime meetings, to use Microsoft Teams, to still conduct business sort of as usual, without being face to face in the same room. And technology is an amazing thing, and my hat's off to our IT department, to our video department, obviously on the football side, and how they've brought all of this together. And so really for me, it's about, once I get up in the morning, usually go down and try to get a workout in, in the basement. We have a Peloton down there, so and a few free weights. So try to get a little workout in before my day starts, and then share a cup of coffee with my wife Jeannie, and then upstairs and begin my day, continuing to look at college players preparing for the draft, speaking to college coaches. We're kind of having to do that sort of old school, with our scouts being off the road right now, and pro days being canceled. So a lot of time on the phone talking with college coaches, just preparing for the draft as if I'm right there at NovaCare in my office.
With your coaching staff, are you able to conduct and try to keep the day as normally as you would? I mean, do you have positional meetings and current roster breakdowns and plan out your X's and O's for hopefully the spring and for training camp also?
Yeah, and one of the things that when this pandemic hit a few weeks ago, and we made the decision to close NovaCare, we'd kind of prepared, those last few days on what to get done. And so, for me, it's still, picking up the phone and calling my staff, or going through Microsoft Teams and having meetings, FaceTime on the phone, or just, text messaging, just to stay in contact, just checking in on them, and seeing how they're doing. Because I do have a few coaches that went back home, to where their families are, and so, want to make sure that they're safe, but, still conducting business as usual. And we just got to do it this way. We got to do it through a screen, and again, can't do it face to face, but we're able to get things done, connect to our computers in our office. We're on Exos. We've got ProStar available to us, so everything is right here. Just work from home.
Doug, the team has been really active here in free agency. Before we get into that, I wondered from a stay-at-home standpoint, Doug Pederson, what kind of talents have emerged during this time? Are you now the guy in charge of cooking dinner? What have you learned about yourself kind of during this very difficult period?
I think one of the biggest things, just being resourceful. Being at home as much as I have been. My wife still does all the cooking and preparing all the meals, and I love to do breakfast, and that's kind of my deal. When I'm home is cooking breakfast. But I think being resourceful with the things that we have in and around the home, we're making use of just about everything and every space, and taking advantage of that, and then of course just spending the quality time. Our youngest son Joel and then my wife, just spending time with them, and taking a break from the reality of what's going on in our world right now, and just enjoying that family time.
Do you have any suggestions for Eagles fans? Any good television shows or playlists? Anything you can recommend?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of things. I figured that question would come up. So my wife and I have we watched, just finished watching Tiger King, on Netflix the other day. Just finished watching that. We also watched Little Fires. That's a Reese Witherspoon, um, and that's on Hulu. And then of course on Apple TV, we just finished the morning show again, another Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston series. So those are some good ones that we've done here in the past few weeks.
I've got a suggestion for you, and it actually involves some sports. On Netflix, I recommend it highly. It is called The English Game, and it's a story about the birth of the FA Cup in Britain, Great Britain. So there's some sports element to it. It's a great story about the town. I highly recommend it. All right, take that one and give it a shot.
I just wrote that one down, and there's another one that was brought to my attention too this week. It's actually on HBO. It's with Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I believe it's The Art of Coaching, and it's something I want to take a look at as well. I hear that's a really good sort of documentary on that. On those two gentlemen as well, two obviously icons in our profession.
Doug, let's talk about football. A very busy free agency period for the Eagles. Your view of everything that happened. Looks like the defense is in a lot better shape than it was prior to March 18th.
Yeah, obviously, each year free agency comes, and we know that first thing is we'd love to be able to sign all our guys back. I mean, that's first and foremost. These guys have, helped us win a championship. Some of them put us in position to get in the postseason the last 2 years. So that's the first goal. We try to sign our own, but I think that it's obviously not realistic, because I being a former player, and that player side in me is like, hey, go get what you can, out there, and if you get an opportunity, somewhere maybe to become a starter, I think it's a great opportunity for our own players. But at the same time, we're going to lose guys, but at the same time, we've got to be active. Howie's been active, with free agency. We've signed, we feel, obviously defensive players, but guys that are really going to help us step in, compete, give us value, and these are really good players, and we're excited about that. And then of course we still have the draft coming up, but we have been active in free agency. We've been that way. My 5 years now, going on my 5th year, with the Eagles. So it's something that I'm excited to get these guys in the building at some point, and really get to know them, and see how they can help our team.
Doug, can you talk about Darius Slay and talk about Javon Hargrave? And it seems like, would you consider them kind of like blue chippy talents, very high level players who should significantly upgrade things on the defensive side?
Yeah, Darius, he's a really good corner. He's been he's a veteran player, 7-year vet, going on 8 years, I believe, and he's played a lot of football, and he's a guy that and obviously we played him last year when Detroit came to Philly, and here's a corner that can match up with some of the top receivers that we face each and every week. So he can give us that ability. He's tough. He can run. He still, I think, still has some great years ahead of him, and so we're excited to get him. I'm excited to get him in the mix, and just add again a veteran presence to a group that is still learning the game. I think we're still young at that position, obviously the corner position, and here's a veteran player that can come in and really, I think, take these guys under his wing, and show them how to be pros, number one, and help us win football games. And then Javon is he's an explosive defensive tackle. He definitely fills a spot or a role there. We're fortunate we'll get Malik back, this season, and just adds a tremendous amount of depth along with Fletcher Cox, and we did sign Hassan Ridgeway again, and get him back in there. So big, powerful guy up front that really helps our defensive line.
Doug, what's your role in the free agency process? How involved are you? What kind of specifically do you do during that time?
Yeah, as you know, Dave, it's a collaborative process. I mean, we involve all our coaches, myself, obviously Howie, Andy Weidel, our pro personnel staff, and really make it a collaborative effort. I think the more information that we gather on players, we can make these really I think these great decisions for our football team, and really. My involvement is obviously watching the tape, my opinions on players, talking to coaches, and really, visiting with Howie and making these decisions where we can sign these great players to our roster, and it's been this way, and I think it's the only way that you can really be on the same page, is to have a collaborative effort this way.
Doug, why was it important to bring back Rodney McLeod and Jalen? You mentioned Hassan, Nate Sudfeld as well. Why those players? What do you feel they continue to bring to the football team?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned earlier, we try to sign all our free agent players, whether they're restricted or unrestricted. We try to get them all back every year. But there are a certain group of guys that they've been leaders on our football team. They've been a valuable part of what we've done, and guys like Rodney, guys like Jalen. These guys they've played a lot of football games for us, and Nate, unfortunate injury last year, right at the onset of the season, and all of that, but getting him back and kind of solidifying the quarterback room a little bit, and it's just important to keep that nucleus of guys, and the more guys you can sign off your current roster and get them back, I think it's important, as you move forward to the new year.
Doug, fans have media focused on Slay and on Hargrave, but you also brought in Will Parks. You bring in Jatavis Brown, nickel robey-coleman. Certainly not the top tier free agents, but we've seen the team have success in the past with those kinds of signings. What do those players bring to the table for the defense?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that defensively speaking, there's so much nickel defense, throughout the NFL right now. There's not a ton of three linebacker looks, and we've played a ton of three safety looks or nickel back, with five DBs, maybe three corners and things of that nature. So adding more depth, adding more talent to that room and to our roster with guys like Will Parks, who can, fill a role for us, as possible third safety, in a game, and then nickel robey-coleman, who's played that nickel spot, brings again depth and value. We have Cravon LeBlanc, who was coming off an injury a year ago, played at the end of the season, gives us great value there, and then Jatavis Brown, I think, is just another young linebacker that again adds that value and that competition to that already young group, and all these guys too can help us on special teams, and that's another aspect of this, not just their role on defense, but I think obviously their role on special teams where we can fill that need as well.
Doug, your offensive background, obviously everybody knows about that. Do you feel like, helping the defense, while it doesn't directly help the offense, it certainly does play a role in making everything better? How do you kind of balance that all the attention in free agency, most of the attention paid toward the defensive side of the ball? How does that impact the offensive side?
Well, I think that, obviously the two and really all three phases go hand in hand, and they're all important phases to us, and not one part is greater than the other. We're equal in that regard.
Doug, I do want to ask you, since we last spoke, you had made an addition to the coaching staff. A familiar face comes back to NovaCare, Marty Mornhinweg. Can you talk about his addition and what you think he brings to the offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, Marty and I go back to our Green Bay days, obviously, where he actually coached me as a player back in Green Bay. And, obviously, when he was the coordinator in Philadelphia, I was the quality control coach. And so our connection goes way back. And I'm really excited for Marty. I'm excited for our offense, for the coaching staff to get him back, in our building. He's got a great football mind. He's been around some great quarterbacks, obviously, in his career. And he's coordinated and he's been a head coach. So it's a great resource personally for me to be able to sort of pick his brain, just much like I do Jim Schwartz being a former head coach. And I see Marty helping us on offense, being able to, look at game plans and sort of. I also have a young coach by the name of Press Taylor, who I made the pass game coordinator this year, and I think this will be a great resource for him too as he matures in his role and wants to become a coordinator, obviously in the NFL. And this will be a great resource for him. But being able for Marty, um, helping us game plan, looking at our opponents. He doesn't have to coach a position, so it's not the pressure of coaching that position. But I do want him to help in the quarterback room and wherever he sees a need. I want him to evaluate our offense. I want to evaluate, our program that we're doing and be that consultant for me, and then obviously, help us with planning, as we get to the fall.
Doug, the league this week approved a change to the postseason format. An additional team reaches the playoffs in each conference. With that, only the number one seed in the postseason has a bye week. Your thoughts on the new format moving forward?
You better be the number one seed. It is exciting. Obviously, I think if it were in place last year, I believe the Rams would have been the seventh seed. I think last year, and I think possibly the Steelers and the AFC would have been the seventh seed, something like that. So it makes it a little more exciting. Obviously, it gives an opportunity for really, not only more teams, but every team now has a shot to be in that the top seven in their conferences. The importance of your schedule and winning games. I look back to the last couple of seasons. Yes, we did make the postseason, and that is our goal to be in the postseason. But you got to win as many games as you can, not only in your conference but also out of your conference to put you in a better position in the postseason. But it's going to be exciting. It does change the landscape of obviously the postseason, and I'm looking forward to that.
Doug, you look good. You sound like you've got great energy. I know it's very difficult times. Any parting messages for Eagles fans who are, really, really nervous as we all are and excited at the same time for the 2020 season to begin?
Well, first of all, to the fans, just continue to follow the guidelines that are in place, by our obviously, state and local governments, our federal government. The social distancing, I think, is obviously it's real. This virus is real, and just protect yourself. Stay safe. Obviously, continue. If you're looking for things to watch besides obviously those shows that we mentioned, go back and watch the 2017 season. Go back and watch highlights of that year. Go back and watch the Super Bowl, and you can get that enthusiasm back. And really, the 2020 season, we are still continuing to gear up for that, and we're going to continue to add value and talent, to our roster. Our players are excited. The ones I've had a chance to kind of speak to this off season, and I can't wait for that day we get back in NovaCare and as they say, boots on the ground and get going for the 2020 season.
Yeah, it seems like forever. Long month of March. Seems like forever since we were back at NovaCare. Really, you if anybody ever takes it for granted, this is a reminder to never take anything for granted, because every day when we walk in there, it's just a really an amazing experience, right? We agree with that.
Yeah, totally agree with that, and you appreciate every day that you get up and go to work and work for a great organization like the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can't take anything for granted. And I think if anything, this heightens the awareness, around us every single day. But you can't take it for granted, obviously, and we got to continue to stay safe and move forward.
Doug, thank you so much for taking time with me today. Good luck getting ready for the 2020 draft, and let's keep building this roster. Let's get ready for 2020.
Well, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me today. And yeah, we're going to continue to do that. Continue to push forward. And as I mentioned, we're gonna get through this draft. We got great resources, obviously, to help our roster and to help us get better. So looking forward to that.
Doug, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.